Okay, so we are now going to implement useState by getting an interaction from our user. Okay, so anyway, we have interacted with our user in our previous video by just clicking on the button. But now, how about if ever that we are going to get an input from our user? Okay, so so we are going to start with a fresh code. So I'm just going to erase this one here and also with button. Okay, so in my first example is that we are going to ask the user for the name, then we are going to display through an alert button the inputted name by the user. Okay, so we're going to use the input element, okay, so that we could get an input from the user. Okay, input, then we have type is equal to text. Okay, save. Oops. I'm going to erase my color. Okay, so here now our input element, which is a text box. Okay, so then after that I'm going to have a button. Okay, I'm just going to have the label click me. Save. Okay, so when I click on the button, it is going to display the value inputted by the user. For example, if ever I'm going to input here Pitok, then it is going to display here hello Pitok. Okay, so it is that simple. But then take that here, we are going to do this one the React.js way. Okay, so instead of we're just going to have this one, then we're going to have in vanilla JavaScript, we're just going to get the ID, then the value, get element by ID, then the value, then this we're going to display it into our alert button. But anyway, we are going to do it through a state variable. So we're going to initialize here const. Okay, then I'm going to have name, then set name, then is equal to use state. Then we are going to have the default value of empty string. Okay, so how are we going to use now this state variable into our input element? Okay, so we are going to have here the props. First we have value, so our value would be the name. Okay, so but take note here, as I'm going to save, then I'm going to type. Okay, I am typing now, but take note here, I could not see the letters that I am typing into my text box. Why? It is because we have set here the value as or coming from the name. So therefore, even though I am typing into this text box, but still the value is empty because we have initialized it as an empty value. Okay, so that is why we are going to manipulate here our onChange event. Okay, so onChange event, so we must have to use our setName function. Okay, but instead that I'm going to have the long method first. No more. Let's go directly with the short method. Okay, so instead that I'm going to create here a function that is going to change or set the value of the name, I'm going to have it directly on the onChange event. Okay, so but take note, if ever I'm going to have the set name directly into this function, okay, as we have experienced in our previous video, it is going to directly call the set name once this page is going to be executed. Okay, so therefore we are going to use here the lambda. Okay, so we have here set name. Okay, but then what should be the value that we are going to supply for the set name? And that would be then the value of the name variable, and at the same time it is going to assign us the value of the input element. Okay, so I'm going to have here the event parameter. Okay, E or event or whatever you're going to call this. Sometimes I'm just going to have it E. Okay, then I'm going to have, and by the way, this event here is actually owned by this element. Okay, so therefore I'm going to have here E that target. So when you say target, so meaning it is this element. Okay, then that value. So what we are doing here is we are getting the value of this element, which is our target, coming from the event being passed into this function. Okay, so that's why every time that I'm going to type whatever letter here, it would be assigned as the value of this element. Okay, so save. So we have here, oh, I type P, then we have there pitok. Okay, so backspace and so on. Okay, so when we are going to click on the button, I want it to be displayed, the name inputted by the user here will be displayed into our alert dialog box. Okay, so I'm going to create here a function, display, I'm just gonna make display name. Okay, I'm going to use here alert dialog box. So what would be the value that I'm going to supply with alert? So how are we going to get the value of the input document here? Before, with vanilla JavaScript, what we're going to do is we're just going to just get the value, get element by ID, then value. Okay, but here, or just get the ID. Take note, we don't have any ID as of this moment. Okay, I have not used an ID here because what we're going to display is actually, by the way, this is wrong. Okay, because we are just going to use here our state variable. Okay, so maybe good to say good day then we have name. Okay, and on our on click is we are going to call display name. Save, then we're going to type here pitok, then click, so you have there good day and the one that I have inputted into my input element, or we're going to say Mickey Mouse, then click me, save it there, we have Mickey Mouse. Okay, so the main difference now with how are you going to implement, okay, the input element is actually with its value is that in vanilla JavaScript we're going to use the ID, okay, and the value, but here we're just going to use the state variable associated with the value property of the element. Okay. Okay, so we're going to have another example. So what I'm going to do here is okay, the usual, we are going to let the user to enter two numbers, then we're going to display the sum. Okay. So, okay, I'm not going to erase the text here. I'm just going to add below. I'm going to say calculator. Okay, save. Okay, then And below, I'm going to let the user to input for the first number. Input, then type is equal to, now it should be number. Okay, we don't have the value yet. And again, we're going to have the input for the second number. Okay, type is equal to number. Okay, then a button for the addition. So I'm going to have button, then okay, calculate. Okay, so save. So we have here the first two, first number, second number, and the calculate button. Okay. So since we are going to have two numbers, so therefore we are going to assign here two variables. Okay. I'm just going to call it n1 for the first number, then set n1. Then I'm going to have the initial value of 0. Okay. Then const, then we have the n2 or the second number, and set n2. useState, then we have 0. Okay. So next is we are going to assign the value for value would be equal to n1, and the other one we're going to have value is equal to n2. Save. Okay, as you could see, we have here now 0, but still we don't have any calculations yet, and I can not still input any number into my input elements. It is because we have not yet assigned the onChains property or props. Okay, so then we have onChains is equal to, okay, again we are going to have our event, then here set n1, then e that target that value. Okay, then also with our n2 onChains is equal to, okay, I'm just going to put it here so that you could see properly. Okay, so putting this as the fat arrow notation, then we have the curly braces. So we have here are the variable for the event, then event dot target that value. Okay, arrange, then save. So I could type now on, oops, I could not type here on my second number. Okay, the problem here is, okay, I have directly have the value here, but I did not set the n2 value. Okay, save, then type. So as you can see now, I could not type into my two elements. Okay, so next is we're going to have our calculation. Okay, so I'm going to create a function on top. So const, I'm just going to call it calculate or get the sum. Okay, there are two ways that we're going to, on how are you going to perform or execute the calculation here. First, I'm going to assign x for the first number. Okay, so we have my n1 const y is equal to my n2, then z is equal to x plus y. Then after that we are going to have a set. Now I'm going to have the sum, oops, and set sum. Okay, because I'm going to have here the set sum as our z. And I'm going to call that on the button here. So you have on click, then it's equal to calculate. Okay, but instead that I'm going to have the sum into an alert, so I'm just going to add a text. Let's say I'm just going to have here an h3, then I'm going to have the sum. Save. So as you can see there, we have 0 for our sum. Okay, or I might say sum is 0. Okay, now, okay, so here our sum, then we have set sum, we have it there. Okay, so let's say I'm going to have 5 and 3. Okay, click. Oops, I have an error. Now, take note of this error. Z is not defined. Oh, by the way, it's not the error that I'm expecting. Okay, so save. So calculate. So we have 53. Okay, so it does not actually add the two values. It just concatenates them. Okay, so if ever I'm going to have 54 and 3, calculate, so it is going to give us 54 and 3. Why? It is because by default an input element is going to give us a string. Okay, so what are we going to do here is we are going to parse int. So we are going to parse this value and also with the end2. Parse int, then we have end2, then save. Okay, 54 plus 3 is we have now 57. Okay, I'm going to remove 4, then we have 5 plus 3 is we have 8. Okay, so this is one way on how are you going to execute it. Another one is you are just going to get this one here plus okay, save. 33, calculate, we have 38. Okay, anyway, case to case basis, and I would advise we are just going to use this one, but in this example we could just use actually the shorter one, but normally we are going to compute it first, then we are going to set it as the new value, because especially if ever that you're going to deal with a bit complex mathematical computations. Okay, so compute it first, then set as the new value. Okay, so what we have here is could be either alert or display it onto our UI. Okay, so what are new here is we have how are you going to deal with an input element. Okay, so what are you are just going to take note is for the value and also with the onChange event, wherein we are going to assign the value for this variable every time the user is going to type into our element. Then how are we going to get the values for each of these elements is by just getting now the value of the value of the variable assigned, or the state variable being assigned into this element. For example, we have the n1 and we have the n2 and also we have our name. Okay. So hopefully you have fully understood on how are you going to implement input elements by using useState. Okay, so that's all for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.